And literally any number you want from 1 to 100.
44.
44. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Just for reference, the ace of diamonds ended up here. That would have been 43. 45. 10 of spades. You said 44. And y'all have said a lot of, like, there's no way, like, just on a whim, you didn't know coming in you'd say 44 or 71 or all the different things we've said today. Let's just see. Deck 44.
100 decks of cards on the wall, but no matter which one they choose, you will be able to predict the outcome. So welcome to the deck wall force. This is the trick I used to close a Zoom show this year. And I kind of just came across this serendipitously. I was thinking through different ways to force certain items, and this kind of comes from a combination of many different principles. So in terms of crediting, the Svengali principle at its core, and then I kind of was inspired to think more about it from Cavan Booth, talking about how to use a Svengali deck for like an A-can sort of thing. And then really it's basically a multiple outs trick at its core. And I was kind of inspired to think in this way for Zoom shows based on the guys from Big Trick Energy. So that whole crew, they explained how they did a trick for the Ellen show, and they had, you know, an index system, you might call it, or just a multiple outs for one of the choices on that show. And that's something you can leverage in something like this, where I had something in my room, I had a deck collection, and I thought it would be really cool on video to be able to do that. So maybe there's ways on stage or in person to leverage this, but for this use, I'm going to explain how it works. Now, if you don't have 100 decks of cards, I want you to still watch this principle at play, because I think you could probably apply it to other objects. So that's the question for today. As you watch this and you see the secret, what is something else you could apply this to? Like, for example, maybe you could do it with books on a bookshelf, or you have envelopes in a row. I don't really know why you would have a row of envelopes, but maybe you could come up with the presentation for that. So whatever your idea is, let me know in the comments below how you would use this principle with a different prop if you don't have 100 decks of cards lying around like I happen to. Okay, so the first step is obviously to pick your force card. And in my case, I did the 6 of diamonds. It does not matter what it is, just needs to be something that you know and that you're gonna predict ahead of time. So in my case, I actually did this a little bit backwards. Instead of having my participants select 1 out of 100 from the deck wall first, I actually used a simple second deal in order to force the 6 of diamonds. So I just started dealing cards, told them to say stop, and they stopped on the 6 of diamonds, because basically this is a double force. That way, instead of just having one prediction, it's almost like the combination of randomness. So does that make sense? If I just had a prediction, it's pick something, haha, I've predicted it. If it's random choice over here collides with random choice over here, feels a little more magical. So if you want to learn the second deal, we have that on another video on the channel, and I think it's a great way to casually just force a card. And I actually have to shout out Cavan Booth again. He kind of shared his thoughts on that in another video for him as well. But okay, I'm about to break the illusion and show you what's going on here. Okay, so magic spoiler warning here. There's no going back. Let's take a look at the top deck, for example. On this deck of cards, the top card is my force card. You see that here? But the bottom card is just a random 9 of spades. Go to the second deck in the lineup. The 6 of diamonds is not the top card, but it is the bottom card. This is the core to the secret. Now hold up, wait, hold on one sec, because you probably think you have it all figured out now. Like, okay, every other, it's top, bottom, but that alone will not make this work, because we have to contextualize this with presentation. But before I get to the how-to of that, first, you're going to set up your deck wall, or whatever your analogical version of this is, with odds and evens, top and bottom. So first deck, 6 of diamonds is on top. Second deck, 6 of diamonds is on the bottom. Third deck, 6 of diamonds is on top. Fourth deck, 6 of diamonds is on bottom. And as I was going through doing this to prepare for the show, I had to keep reminding myself. I kept counting, like, okay, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. I'd be all the way over here. Where am I? Well, I know it's going to end on bottom, so bottom, top, bottom, top. All right, that's where I am. And you just go all the way through each row. Now in this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of 20, and that kind of made it helpful to remember where I was. And you just take each row at a time, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. Okay, here's the other critical piece of information to make this force actually work and not just theoretically cool. And this goes for any magic. You have to paint the picture, right? You have to contextualize it, but those moments that you're actually narrowing the mind's focus have to come off as very natural, organic, and justified within the props you're using and the procedure that you're using with the props. So for me, this is something genuinely true for me. This is literally my collection of a deck of cards. This isn't something I made up to do a trick. This was just a collection of things I had that I then tried to think of a trick with. So in my presentation, I was able to explain to my participants, hey, like I love magic. I also love cards. I love collecting cards. People have given me decks of cards over the years, and they're each their own unique piece of art. And so by putting that piece in there, I'm talking about uniqueness. And from uniqueness, I'm going to communicate the idea of when I am looking at this and I'm appreciating it, a lot of times what I do is I'll just take a deck out, I'll kind of look at it for a little bit, I'll shuffle it around, and I'll put it back on the shelf. And here's what I say. I always wonder, like when I just shuffle these cards and I put them back on the shelf, what order do they end up in? And that's going to link me to saying one of two things. If they've picked an odd number, I know that the 6 of diamonds is going to be on the top of the deck. And so for that reason, what I'll say next is going to reflect that idea in my mind. So if they've picked 43, let's say, that's going to be 20, 40, 1, 2, 3. It's going to be this deck of cards, 43. I know the 6 of diamonds will be on top of this deck. I'm going to say, I always wonder, when I shuffle the cards and I put them back, what card would have just randomly ended up on top? Okay, so that is an important key feature of this trick, is that you're painting the picture of what card we're going to be looking at before you go to the cards. Let's rewind. If they said an even number like 44, so instead of this, it's going to be this, and it's going to be on the bottom instead of the top, you're going to paint the same picture. I say, I always wonder, like when I shuffle the cards and I put them back in, if I were to take out a random deck of cards, what card would be staring me in the face? So instead of saying what card would be on the top, I like to say the idea of what card would be just there staring me in the face. I think saying that instead of bottom is helpful because top does feel intuitive. Top feels like, oh, what card would be on top? That's the next card. That's the primary card in people's minds. For the bottom card, I think you could maybe try to miscommunicate it as the top card because it's on the top of the face-up stack in that way. But I don't like that. So just something about that feels wrong to me, or maybe like they wouldn't be fooled by that. And so I like the idea of, it is true that when you take a box of cards out, when you take cards out of the box, there's always one that is facing out because that's the bottom card. And so I like that idea, and that has a feeling of immediacy or intuitiveness in that it's the only card that would be showing when you open a deck of cards. So does that make sense? That's the key difference in how you set the scene. And it's all organic, justified, and kind of rationally tied into the procedure you're doing. And it paints a beautiful picture, right? Like you've gotten to talk about, in my case, I have this collection of things. I like to enjoy looking at them, but they're decks of cards. I shuffle them, and I always wonder, where did it end up when I shuffled it? And that also ties back into the feeling of uniqueness. These are all in unique orders, and randomness. This is a truly random choice they made. And it's not just one card. Each of these were shuffled decks of 52 cards. Who knows where each of them ended up? So then, of course, you get to go to the number they chose. So like we did before, let's just say it was 43, and you're gonna take 43 out. Now, before you show them the revelation, there's one key convincer, because obviously in their mind, it could be the case that all of these now have the 6 of diamonds on top, right? That would be a very intuitive thing to think. People are smart, people aren't dumb. So the convincer is why this every other card is so great that you're going to be able to use. So if they picked 43, show them 42. 42 does not have the 6 of diamonds on top. So to do that, of course, you have to avoid showing or flashing the bottom of the deck, and you're just going to hold the deck in your hands and show the top card not being the 6 of diamonds. Same thing with 44. You're going to go to 44, hold it in your hands face down so that you don't flash the 6 of diamonds, and you're going to show that that top card is not the 6 of diamonds. In the case of an even deck being chosen, it's of course going to be the same idea, but once again, you're changing how you're saying it and showing it, you get to take the cards directly out and show the bottom card is not the 6 of diamonds. But now in this case, you don't want to flash by going up or letting the top card slide and show itself, because then it would show itself to be the 6 of diamonds. So it's the same idea in reverse. Show that the bottom card is not the 6 of diamonds, but don't flash the top card. In either case, you're staying consistent with whatever railroad you knew you had to go down once they chose an odd or even choice. So you've done the choice, you've narrowed the focus, and then you've done the convincers. Now all that's left to do is go to that deck, face your audience, and if it's an odd number, show that top card, or if it's an even number, just by sliding the deck out, facing them, they're going to see that 6 of diamonds. They're going to have this impossible coincidence come into play. So you do need to remember in your head where each of these were placed in their box, in that you want to know if, okay, as I hold the bottom of the box towards myself, and am I going to be seeing the bottom of the deck or the top? So it helps to have all of these consistently placed in their box. I like to have the backs of the cards showing toward the bottom of the box or the back of the box, meaning that when I'm holding the pull tab toward myself and I'm going in, when I pull that out, I'm going to see the backs of cards. That's how I like to do it. And if I keep that all consistent, I'll know which angle to hold the deck at when I take it out. So just remember, if they pick an odd numbered card and then you go to the even numbered decks to make your prover, don't accidentally show the bottom cards as you take them out of the deck. And then vice versa, you can show the bottom cards if they pick an even deck where it's going to be on the bottom, but you don't want to show the top card on accident. You don't want to spread the cards to where the top card will flash. And boom, that is the deck wall force. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know by liking and subscribing. We do magic content like this on the channel. And again, let me know what sort of thing in your house are you going to try using this with. Shout out to the other creators who inspired me. And if you like this, check out another one of my videos that YouTube will recommend to you on the end screen here. But until next time, keep enjoying your magic, stay a hobbyist at heart, and I will see you guys in the next video.